GOP House Oversight Chairman wildly speculates that the Chinese spy balloon may have bioweapons in it. Did it take off from you-know-where in China? This is the story that is being talked about all over the world. In fact, if you go to the versions of Fox and CNN that are actually in India and, of course, in Europe and in Africa even, they are talking about this balloon. This is the biggest story on Earth. And last night, I was literally saying how, this will probably be forgot about by tomorrow. And, of course, it's not. Now, it's the largest story in the world, so there may be some credentials there to be a huge distraction. But then again, this also could be the real thing. Anything that could be a distraction also could be the real thing as far as looking at this from a prepper standpoint. And this is news from a prepping standpoint. So again, we'll talk about this and much, much more tonight on tonight's show. We're going to go in depth what we covered over on Marfoogle News and all of the rest of the big picture that is going on basically today. So let's go into it, but before we do, I do want to remind everyone, if you haven't already, make sure to go to marfooglenews.com. We'll show you that in just a second. We'll be right back right after this. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. That was pretty funny. I just saw a comment that said, Sleepy Joe said, relax, Corn Pop. It's just the TikTok update. I could see that, right? It's just uploading to everybody's phones. So we're going to go over all of this and a bunch more. So if you want to keep up to date with everything we're talking about, and even if you want to grab a second device and follow along, you can go over to marfooglenews.com/ again, friends, and find all of our awesome channels over there. And then also you can go and find a full bibliography. At marfooglenews.com, you'll find this thumbnail. Just look for Spy Balloon. The world is watching, and then spy balloon delivery system or harmless balloon. You'll see that every single article, tweet, video, picture, document is here that we're going to show you here today. And then over on the right, there is, of course, all of the affiliates. So if there is a product that you do want to support us with, again, you'll get a discount and you'll support our independent channel. We are basically up against mainstream, which, of course, gets the spotlight while we're put at the back corners of the internet. So if you do want to fight for us, then make sure to share us out and press that like button. That's the best support you can give. Again, so there's also overflow. There's all sorts of stuff that could not fit into tonight's show. And then also make sure to go over to Marfoogle News, our main channel, our sister channel, and check out the video that we put out. It's half an hour. It's a little bit, it's actually about 28 minutes, but it's a good shareable chunk of this show that you can share with somebody new and get them involved in the Foogle fam. All right, let's bring in my co-host / internet brother, Dex James. What is going on and how are you doing today?
Hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine.
So far, we have a bunch of really great people here. Starshine, Andrew, D. Truth. We've got Lisa R. Hall, Lakeside Laura, Mirror 504. Nice to see you. Diana Boss, CJ Blaze. Thank you for modding, along with Ilea and Lisa R. Hall. Willow Orberon. We have Gloria Nepp, Bug Nana, Daring, 2195, Flip TK, James Crunk, Richard Ball, and B-Dub. Thank you. Pure Blood Adelphia. We've got Bobby Sue and Turngrinner. I think that's how you say that. I'm probably not reading that right. Nyota, 99 red balloons. That's actually my older sister's my eldest sister's favorite karaoke song to sing. All right, so let's get into it. First of all, the bio aspect of this, it is a possibility. Now, all of these possibilities, I think, are, very unlikely. I'm hoping that this is just some sort of ploy to send a message. Obviously, already we're not going to Taiwan. Like, why? I guess they said that they were postponing it. Isn't that right? It's not Lloyd Austin. It's his counterpart.
It's Blinken. It's indefinitely postponed.
Okay, but indefinitely could be I love how they say indefinitely, and that sounds very permanent. But in 2 weeks from now, they could go, right? Indefinitely in politics terms basically means for the time being, right? It usually means forever, right?
Yeah, they mean for the foreseeable future. They're not going until something changes.
So something is going on here, and obviously this was a direct message, maybe, I guess, and we're not hearing the rest of the message because something is obviously, above the civilian pay grade about this balloon. People were hounding the president for answers on this. Everybody, all of the reporters, they didn't care about what he was saying about this or gas prices or that. Everything he said, some reporter would come back and say, what about the balloons? What are you going to do about China? This and that. So this is why it makes me think that this is possibly a distraction. But again, this gets very, very real very fast when you think of the potentials. For this thing to go over not one, but multiple nuclear-capable bases and then end up in the very center of our country, that's freaky, since we have been talking about basically a scenario, kind of a thought scenario that we've talked about for years is something going over the middle of our country and releasing an EMP and knocking our grid down. This thing just so happens to be something that can deliver that kind of EMP, and it's floating and it's going right towards the middle of our country. Dex, as far as like the bio section of this, I guess it could drop capsules. It could do something like that, right? But otherwise, it wouldn't just release something.
It in my opinion, and I'm not an expert at this, it would be a little difficult to try to release something at 65,000 feet or higher and then expect that to make it to the ground in some sort of targeted way. So I think, but it is not unpractical to think that something could be dropped and then open up at a lower level where it has a greater chance of doing something. Or if it's maybe shot down and then it comes down and hits the ground, something could be there that could then turn into something bigger. The winds just way up in the stratosphere, they move pretty far. We've seen like a volcanic ash can go up into the stratosphere and go all the way around the world before it ever comes down. There's things up there that act a lot differently than down here. 65,000 feet and higher, it's the atmosphere is much different than down here.
Yeah, and as far as, everything that has been transpiring over the last 2 days, there's a lot of other big news going on in the world, so we'll talk about some of that later. Lots of really, really odd stories from around the world have been popping up. Meanwhile, everybody is talking about this balloon, but who knows if this was the real event. If it's not, then everybody that has been telling their friends and family, like, oh, you got to get prepared, this balloon is going to be something big, then when it doesn't transpire, if nothing happens, all of the community that goes to their friends and family and says, get prepared, they'll think in hindsight, a balloon flew over and you freaked out, right? But at the same time, this is the kind of thing we have been looking for years. And this very well could be the thing that happens in a couple of years from now, and they just practice run it. They got balloons in the center of our country, and we were indecisive and we didn't shoot it down. When it was over Montana or some like the empty belt, what do they call that? There's a belt of the United States that it flew over that almost no one lives on. In fact, the majority of the population, what do they call that belt? There's a name for that belt, Dex. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Either way, the belt from all the way up to the top of the country down to Texas, the majority of that is all down in Texas. But there's like almost no population there. The most it would hit is a farm or a mountaintop or something. The Dust Belt. I think they call it the Dust Belt. Anyways, it's wild to think that they didn't shoot it down when it was over almost no one. And they knew about it then because it was way before that they discovered it. Dex, did you cut out there?
I'm here.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I think we're having issues here. Sorry about that. Dex, do you want to go over what happened 25 years ago, and then we'll go back to what's about to happen to the Midwest or to the Northeast actually, with the freeze?
Most certainly. So, this isn't the first time we've had these balloons run away. Apparently, about 25 years ago, there was a large weather balloon that was a challenge to get to. It had left, I want to say it left Canada's area, went across into the UK, and then it was in Iceland, and they actually tried to shoot it down. They chose not to use missiles. I think others had also tried to shoot it down too, but in this particular article they're talking about, they particularly tried to shoot it down. They didn't want to use missiles, so they blasted 1,000 holes in the balloon, and it's not like this balloon pops like you think of a party balloon and you just stick a pin in it and it goes boom. It doesn't work like that. It just starts leaking out the helium, but it wasn't enough to actually make it come down. So that was an interesting insight. It's not as easy as one might think. Now, they chose not intentionally to shoot missiles at it, because they didn't want errant missiles flying over civilian airspace unnecessarily. It wasn't that important at the time, because this was a weather balloon. It wasn't an unknown balloon or an adversary's balloon. But it's kind of interesting. Just keep this in mind, when you think about the elevation. I know a lot of people have talked about how high this is. They've told us it's 62,000 feet. These can go up to 100,000 feet. Of course, being over 60,000 feet is underneath the typical commercial aircraft. Well, it's definitely under commercial aircraft. And as far as military aircraft, most of them don't go much higher than 60,000, which is the F-22. I think it does 60 or 62 or 63,000 feet. Although some people said an F-15 can go higher, but I have not seen that. I think they've scrambled the F-22s because they are the highest flying of the current fleet.
Sorry, somebody caught me off guard. They said that the balloon is literally causing inflation. That caught me off guard. I was totally not expecting to see a dad joke like that worked in this situation. Anyways, so as far as like this goes, there's lasers. Think about what China says that they have. They can shoot space junk out of the sky with lasers. You know that the U.S. has the same stuff. Hit the damn thing with the laser. Chop the balloon in half. We're talking about, I know that it's probably a tough material, but this is all the stuff that is just rotating around mainstream news. Why aren't they shooting it down? Well, here's the thing. They obviously know something that we don't. They're not taking it down. And obviously, there's a lot of people that question the loyalty of some of the people in office, and it makes you wonder. Obviously, when you have some of the largest politicians sitting at round table dinners with oligarchs from that country, and they're funding literally their kids to go to school, it makes you question where their loyalties lie. Now, when you see a movie like Dragon Day, obviously it's a fictitious movie, but it puts the idea that is actually why the movie was made. The movie was made because there is a real thought of that happening. And it's not like an overly paranoid, like the Red Scare type of thing. This is something that it's very obvious that they are planning to be number one in the world. That doesn't mean they're going to be. Hopefully they're not. But if you look at what China's actions have been over the last 30 years, since 1979 when they opened up to capitalism, they have now taken over the world as far as producing more and trading more with other countries than the U.S. does. Look at the actual data. We've shown you the graphs of it, and you can look at it over time. And in the very beginning, in 1981, when they started it, or 1980, you see the whole world was blue. And blue represented that the USA did more trade with these countries. Then it slowly goes to red being that countries are doing more trade with China than they are with the U.S. And as you scroll through the timeline, it's a time lapse of how it changed. The entire world goes red. And it's very, very clear. From that alone, people should wake up and go, okay, whoa, that's what's happening. they were able to do production for cheaper because they weren't paying their people. And for us to start complaining about human rights abuses when almost all of our companies are building stuff there with that same very human rights abuses labor, it's kind of hypocritical. I'll just say that. Like, honestly, our Targets and Fred Meyers and Walmarts, they're all making their stuff there. And then they want to, virtue signal on, Fox News or something and say, oh, well, we care about human rights abuses and they're horrible. But you're also not dropping them as a client. You're still paying for their penny labor. I mean, it's stupid. At the same time, we have gotten ourselves into a position where most of our antibiotics are made there. It's something like 90% of all antibiotics are made there, and 98% of all active pharmaceutical ingredients are made there. That's the stuff that makes the antibiotics. Plus, we don't have a actual system set up or some place to make these things. And of course, you have other dependencies on China that are absolutely stupid. They're things that we could have done. And then when you add in that the future is literally full of computer chips, Taiwan being 100 miles off the coast and them saying that they are going to take it, which we'll cover tonight. They're, Burns from the CIA is saying that they're going to take it and guaranteed by 2027. If they're taking it now or 2027, whatever it may be, it's right down the road, then they will control, if you control the chips, you control the world. And is the U.S. going to sit by? Is NATO going to sit by? Are all of these people bought and paid for, and somebody's in their pocket? So they're like, yeah, whatever. We'll just turn a blind eye and live in our ghost city in Paris, right? Yeah, well, which is actually located in China. And will they put the red band on their arm when everything flips over? I mean, this is just nuts. But yeah, this, as far as 25 years ago, a quick warning on the weather. We'll go back to what is just everyone is talking about, but millions in the Northeast brace for a once-in-a-generation Arctic blast. So they said the last one was once in a generation. Now this one is another once-in-a-generation Arctic blast. Where are all of these coming from? It makes some of us question if possibly some of those things that were rumored as far back as like the 60s and 70s, these, I guess these machines or different routes that, say, major nation state actors could use to, I don't know, change things around us. Maybe that some of those are actually being used. Now, there was a treaty between multiple countries never to use things that could cause earthquakes, that could change things around us, all of this. And that treaty basically said to everybody reading it, saying, oh yeah, they can cause earthquakes, but they can't stop them. They can cause certain, functions above us and in the environment, but they can't stop them, or at least that's what they said back then. They said that they were weapons of mass destruction because they were not controllable. And they all agreed, hey, we won't mess with this. It's playing God. We don't know how to stop it. If we start a 9.2 earthquake, we don't know how to stop it, right? So they all agreed way back in the day to not do that. Now you fast forward with technology, AI, quantum computing, and you think that they haven't gotten a better system to do that. All of a sudden, we're getting these Arctic freezes out of, they say it's because of this, it's because of that. Could something like this be weaponized? That's the question a lot of people are asking. Dex, it says that more than 15 million people are in the crosshairs here. I would say, I bet you are probably going to tell them as well as I am to prepare, right? Get your stuff in line.
Get ready for the expensive heating bill. Make sure your pipes aren't going to freeze. Make sure you've taken care of your pets. That's probably the most important if they're outside. Bring them in. But yeah, this is another cold snap. Unfortunately, it's not the entire U.S. like we had that last time, but it's probably just as bad, at least for the folks up north in the Northeast, because this is pretty cold.
And we'll follow this as it goes along, and we'll show you some of how it ends up playing out in the next couple days. We'll show you the maps of what it looks like. But if you're in that area, make sure to have extra water. Make sure to look at what you need to do to protect your home, as far as if you need to turn you keep water running or turn it off or whatever it may be. I don't know how it's set up over in the Northeast, but again, make sure that you are doing the appropriate things to keep yourself safe and your home from busting pipes and things like that turn into icicles in your living room like Texas did. And then China says it's looking into the report of the spy balloon over the U.S. So, of course, they're saying this. And again, we don't know what this really is. This could be a huge distraction. That's why we're also looking at what is happening around the world at the same exact time as this. But we have been waiting for years for this, and it's like, this is kind of freaky. This balloon and the rumors of multiple balloons floating around the planet, it's freaking creepy. One thing I will say is if they already have an advanced satellite system, why would they need this? And that's a question we raised right when we saw this. And now, only now, there's mainstream articles talking about, hey, why would this be used for surveillance? They've got satellites that can zoom in on us just like the U.S. does. Why would they need these for surveillance? There's not much that this could show that some other satellites wouldn't, unless it was, maybe possibly looking for something very specific. It says China said Friday it was looking into reports that a Chinese spy satellite has been flying in the U.S. airspace and urged calm. Foreign Ministry spokesperson Mao Ning said that she had no information about whether a planned trip by China by U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken would proceed next week as scheduled. It says, quote, China is a responsible country and always strictly abided by international laws, and China has no intention to violate the territory and airspace of any sovereign countries. As for the balloon I've mentioned just now, we are looking into and verifying the situation and hope that both sides can handle this together calmly and carefully. It says, Mao said that politicians and the public should withhold judgment before we have a clear understanding of the facts. Just hold off. Just give it a chance. We're going to keep talking to you. Keep them on the line until it gets to the center of the country and then blackout. Hopefully that's not the case, though. And then, Dex, do you want to talk about this extremely suspect explosion in the sky above Billings, Montana, where this balloon just was?
So apparently,
dang it! Let me skip. I'm going to skip this one, and because I want you to cover this. I've already given my opinion on it over on news, but I'll go over to the dry run and we'll come back to Dex. Sorry about that. The megahertz is going nuts. Dry run balloons called top delivery platform for nuclear EMP attack. So this is something that we covered over on Marfoogle News, of course. And again, this is why people are worried. It says high-altitude balloons, such as the one China has floated over mountain state military bases this week, are considered a key delivery platform for secret nuclear strikes on America's electric grid, according to intelligence officials. Spy balloons used by Japan to drop bombs during World War II are now far more sophisticated. They can fly up to 200,000 feet. So again, this thing can actually go way, way up. They can just push a button and have this thing fly up to the appropriate level and drop an EMP or let one off. It says evade detection and can carry small nuclear bomb that, if exploded in the atmosphere, would shut down the grid and wipe our electronics, a many statewide area. It says the threat of balloon-launched electromagnetic pulse attacks was warned about by a congressional EMP commission and inside the military several years ago. That commission, led up by the late Peter Pry, which, again, he just passed away before all this stuff goes on. I can't imagine what he would say on this. By the way, if you want to see a good interview of Peter Pry, Canadian Prepper did a really great set of interviews with him and his constituents. We were going to have him on our show, but unfortunately his passing was too soon for sure. And I'm praying for his family and his friends that they are, I know they're still going through it right now. It was not long ago. And then in a 2015 report for the American Leadership and Policy Foundation, Air Force Major Davril Stuckenberg, one of the nation's leading EMP experts, wrote extensively about the threat balloons carrying bombs posed to national security. And this is something we've talked about over years, and it's now happening in real time. It says using a balloon as a WMD, mind you, this stuff is all wrote before this happened, WME platform could provide adversaries with a palette of altitudes and payload options to which maximize offensive effects against the U.S., he wrote in the report. It says a high-altitude balloon could be designed, created, and launched in a matter of months. there is nothing to prevent several hundred pounds of weapons material from being delivered to altitude, he said. On Friday, he told Secrets, it says China's recent balloon flyover of the United States is clearly a provocative and aggressive act. It was most likely a type of dry run meant to send a strategic message to the USA. We must not take this for granted. Now in the private sector, Struckenberg, a national security expert and scientist who led the Defense Department's EMP task force and chairman of the American Leadership and Policy Foundation, pointed to Japan's World War II Project Fugo that targeted the U.S. with balloon bombs as an example of the threat. It said, not since WW2 has North America faced a threat of this nature. Project Fugo, or F-U-Go in Japan, used in balloons to float bombs on the trade winds across the Pacific to the U.S. and Canada. I mean, shoot, the Middle East has been using small ones to actually drop things on their enemies back and forth. This is what people have been talking about for years, and now, again, it's happening in real time. Back to you, Dex. The explosion in the sky above Billings, Montana. Pretty suspect timing on this one.
It certainly is. So this happened after the balloon was seen there. So the balloon was loitering there yesterday, and now today it's over in Missouri, and we've even had reports of it in Kentucky. And I know and those are sightings with images. And there's been a lot of other people that are speculating they're seeing it at other locations as well. But while this balloon allegedly is now over Missouri or Kentucky and working its way towards the east, there's this explosion in the sky but in conjunction with high, fast flying jets that were flying through there. At least that's the reports on the ground from the people there. And there was video, and there is a video on the website. So if you go to marfooglenews.com, click on the thumbnail for the show, or just open up the show notes link, you can get to where all these articles are. There's articles there. You can see that video. And you can see the light in the sky just light up when that explosion goes off. And you can see one of the areas where one of the planes was flying, etc. So everybody's sort of questioning, what is this? And it happened after the fact. So was something else going on? Are they not telling us everything? Are there multiple balloons maybe? And they try to take one down? I don't know.
Now, first of all, just some house cleaning there. No, I said that if you want to see a good interview of Peter Pry, who is now passed, go to Canadian Prepper's channel. Canadian Prepper is not passed, but what I have seen is exactly the game of telephone. Somebody says, no, Canadian Prepper's still alive. He just posted. Somebody else says, Canadian Prepper died. Then somebody else goes, when did Canadian Prepper die? Make sure, if you rewind, you'll see that I just said the person he interviewed passed. Again, Peter Pry, the EMP task force director, he passed a few months back. So yes, Canadian Prepper is still up and alive, and like you said, uploaded just a few hours ago. No, he did a great set of interviews of Peter Pry, and you should watch those because he was saying things, and he would talk to anybody. The thing is he had this high up position. The Pentagon put together this task force, but he didn't care about your background. He would talk to anybody about this. He was passionate about it. He didn't care if you had 10 subscribers. He would go and talk on your channel. He was trying to spread the message, and he believed 100% that this was going to happen. There has not been somebody as passionate as him. His coworkers and peers are very close. Again, his coworkers have been doing the same thing, and his peers have been going on. What's even crazier is that a lot of these guys have been shunned from mainstream media, and a lot of them write articles, and they are published authors, but they will be pushed to Substack, and they won't be played because of their views of this EMP thing. And that's just crazy, where they're turning something that like this into a left-right thing. It should not be a left-right thing. It is a huge threat. And then somebody said Northern Lights, I think, says distraction probably, or the major distraction, right? It very well could be. But here's the thing. If this really does happen, say the point where we did have an EMP launched by balloon, would it not look like a distraction? And again, would as many people talk about it at that point as well? Yes. The majority chance that this is a nothing burger. But if it's not, this is news from a prepper standpoint. We're always looking at that 0.1 chance. It's just like if you're a prepper You look at things like, you don't get car insurance because you're going to get in a car accident. You get car insurance because you think you may. We look at life the same way. This may happen, so we prepare accordingly. We don't go nuts. You have to have a balance of everything. But right now, when you cover this every day and you look and you say, if we would head into this, we would see this happen first. And then you see this thing happen first. And then you go, well, if that was really going to happen, this would happen second. Now it's happening second. And then if this was really going to happen, and we talked about this for years, we go down the pattern of what the things would happen. Now we're like on step 18, and all of them are happening in a row. So yes, they said, this could be a dry run. I sure as heck hope it is a dry run, and they're not actually doing something. But the Pentagon has confirmed a second balloon over Latin America. Dex, what allies do we have in Latin America? Who would be the allied countries there, and do we have some over Europe? I mean, I wonder if there's other balloons that they haven't detected yet. The thing is they can fly low or they can fly high. They can fly right over somebody's house and not be detected other than people seeing it by eye.
Well, I would think the two biggest that come to mind would be Brazil and Mexico. Both would be considered Latin America to some extent. I think they use that term because they're not telling us exactly where it is. If it's in South America, if it's in Central America, or if it's at the bottom of North America, but not in the U.S. So it is somewhere over there. We don't know yet. They haven't told us. They just confirmed it, and we do definitely have plenty of allies. There's definitely lots of people that Xi would want to look at, and he's also made investments in those areas too.
Well, obviously, and then that's kind of funny. Somebody said, "Rest in peace, CP." No, yeah, okay, that's taking it a little far. But that's how things like that start, right? Yes, Canadian Pepper is totally okay. MK says, "I'm not scared of no balloon." Well, I ain't scared of no balloon. I call the balloon busters. And then the Pentagon says another Chinese spy balloon is traveling over Latin America. We'll go over that and give you the specifics instead of the vague kind of nature of it. But first, I do want to remind you guys, this is what we've been talking about for years. Make sure to go over and check out EMP Shield. If you are worried about this at all, or if you want to take the responsible step at some point, then go over and check out EMP Shield. These are devices that can protect your car, your trucks, all of your anything that runs with a motor. Essentially, there's gas powered generator devices that can protect those. There's even a device strictly made for the Flex 1500 solar generator. You also have a version that can be wired into your home and protect everything within 250 feet of not only an EMP, but all three phases of an EMP, E1, E2, and E3 phases of the electromagnetic pulse. It also can protect you against a Carrington level event from the sun. You can also get a huge discount at the same time. This takes less than 15 minutes to put in your car or your truck, so make sure to go check it out. They also have the new micro EMP shield that can fit into smaller vehicles or vehicles with smaller engine blocks, or of course motorcycles, four-wheelers, and all of that jazz. Go over to marfugglenews.com/EMP. Not only will you get $50 off, but you'll support our independent channel at the same time. In less than 15 minutes, your car will be protected and will be able to get home to bug in or be able to drive out to bug out. All right, and then so the other balloon that people are talking about, it says the U.S. government says that another Chinese spy balloon is traveling over Latin America. Pentagon spokesman Brigadier General Pat Ryder told Fox News on Friday night that we are seeing reports of a balloon transiting Latin America. We now assess that it's another Chinese surveillance balloon. Now, mind you, there are rumors all over TikTok saying that there are sightings over New York as well. That would be very alarming if that is true. But as far as the Latin America version, we'll update you as more information comes in. But that's definitely not the same one, and there was confusion. People seeing it over Montana, then seeing it over Kansas, thinking it was two different balloons, but most likely it was the same one. But the person in Kansas thought, oh, they said it was in Montana. I'm seeing one in Kansas, and it was the same. And then We have China's spy balloon over Montana as part of a larger, more troubling pattern. Dex, do you want to go over why they say that this could be part of a bigger thing?
Well, so this is the evidence, I guess, that it's now moved to. Actually, no, this is the one about Montana. Man, this thing's all over the place as far as stories are going. But the one of the things they're talking about specifically in this one is the fact that there has been such a investment in espionage and spying on us from Xi's country. So this is, and I think there's also to some extent, I think there's a lot of questions as to what are we doing to respond to this. It's like we're allowing it to go. Now, mind you, as soon as they knew it was in the airspace, they sent out an alert and told everybody to start covering up things or hiding stuff, as if Vlad was doing his flyby like they used to do a few years ago, where they would come through and they would fly over and take their pictures, and we would do the same in their country. So they have ways to protect our secrets when they know they're being looked at, and of course they also have to do that every day just because of satellites. So but yeah, this is clearly something that is a growing concern. There was a day when you didn't think that this was happening to us, except for maybe from Russia's satellites at best, and we didn't have a lot of there wasn't enough tech out there from our competitors or from our adversaries that they could put something like this over our airspace, and now they're doing it. Now we're there. Now we're at a point, and we're at a point where we're at potentially going to be at conflict with this country, with Xi's country, China, and then everything is just seems to be escalating at a greater level as we look at what's happening with our position of bases, the fact that we just went over there. Lloyd Austin was just there getting new bases for us, or expansion of bases in the Philippines, which absolutely upset Xi. He's like, this is not cool. I don't want that. As we put more equipment into Japan, as we gear up Guam and Okinawa and other locations, right? All of that we're doing. It's really clear that the tension is building at a greater level with us and Xi.
Sorry, somebody said it's a gender reveal balloon and the baby's non-binary. Oh, and it will pop over the middle and go, "Hey, it's nothing." Oh man. Well, when we're talking about something so serious, a lot of people are either saying, "Oh, it's a distraction. Who cares? It's a stupid balloon." This is also a stupid balloon that could carry a payload over the middle of our country, and people would say the same thing right before our lights went out. That's the thing. This is like, there was hypothetical theories about this kind of thing happening for years, and people went over the simulation of what would specifically happen if we got hit with an EMP. Now, when you look at the bigger picture, China has been hoarding gold, wheat, corn, every kind of food, rice, natural gas. They've been hoarding everything, and they've been hoarding a percentage of it that is 70%, 65%, 50% of the world's supply of. And it's like, why why are they doing that? Well, if you look at what has happened to Russia when they took over UKR, the sanctions hit them and the entire world cut them off, right? Well, if Xi gets cut off, he still has his network of people. Plus, if they end up saving up, they could possibly wage a war alongside all of their allies. And if they see themselves winning, or if they think they have a chance of winning, then they will be number one in the world. In China's culture, they do not believe in being number 2 or 3 forever. It's in their heavenly mandate that they will rule the world. It is literally part of their culture. They are not supposed to be number 2 as far as they're concerned. They do not want to be number 2 to the United States forever. And obviously, they're jelly. They don't want us being number 1. They are also, at the same time, they're starting all of this stuff with BRICS and this new currency and everything else. And China, of course, has been talking about the gold-backed digital currency, this and that. At the same time, the U.S. is imploding on itself. Over the last few years, very suspect. Out of all the time we've been in since our Constitution was put together, all of this time goes by. In just the last 5 or 6 years, everything is flipped on its head. We have all of these cultural changes, which you're supposed to believe that this is just the evolution of how people think, but nobody's actually thinking about it. It's this big tech pushing these messages in your face and saying everybody thinks that this is okay, and if you don't think it's okay, then you need to be silenced, canceled, or you're some sort of bigot. Look at what is happening around us. Everything is changing. Every last aspect of your life is going to be changing in the next couple years, and people don't realize why a conflict or a major war would be beneficial to the people at the top. During wartime, all of these countries can put things into play just as they did with CV. Maybe there's things that they couldn't do in CV and they didn't expect as much pushback. Maybe there's things that they thought they could get, pushed in while CV was a thing. The entire world was on the same page. Now what if the entire world gets on the same page about war? And everybody changes their laws and puts in things that would never fly normally. What they need to change things on a major direction is a whole lot of fear. Why? Because we outnumber them 100-1. Think about it. They are going to need us to voluntarily jump into whatever the next venture is. Otherwise, it's a whole lot harder. Yes, they could just tell us you're going to do this, but it's a lot easier to get people on your side and to brainwash them into thinking that this is a good thing. That's my opinion. What's yours? By the way, thank you everybody that has dropped in so far. We have so many great people here. And then, by the way, thanks for the super thanks on the last show. Craig Lonsinger did a super thanks on the replay. Kelly2334, thank you for stopping by. Even though you couldn't make the live show, you stopped by and supported double tsunamis. Seattle and UK wiped off the map. Paul Chittum, thank you for stopping by on This Is Endgame. And then it won't be televised. Craig, again, thank you for the support over there. And then tonight's show, thank you, Uncommon News, Dina Thompson. Zenwen AZ, thank you. Says the Japanese flew balloons with bombed over the U.S. in 1944. Zenwen, I'm assuming that was before we covered that. Yes, it's history repeating itself for sure. And then Craig Alicious, G. Undenberg. Yes, that's what they'll call it. Bible Talk 777 just got here, but did hear that President B and CIA offered Vlad 20% of UKR to end the conflict. Shows who runs the corrupt UKR. So what's that make us? Dex, do we have that? The offer that they did, or is this something brand new? I think that might be new. Or
yeah, let me see if I can look that one up again. Can you repeat it?
It said that President B and the CIA, that's not sus at all, just offered Vlad 20% of UKR to end the conflict.
Yeah, let me look that up.
Huh. Zenwen AZ, and if it is, we'll add it to the show, and you'll find it on marfooglenews.com. And then Pat W., thank you for the super sticker. And let's see here. Only thing I can figure out is they want to leave continental airspace and then take it down to sea. WTF, says Stephen McMahon. I don't know. It doesn't make sense why they wouldn't hit it over Montana. And then, of course, they said it was a civilian airship. We went deeper into this over on Marfoogle News, so make sure to go over and check out our shareable show that we put up there. But it said that the suspected Chinese high-altitude surveillance balloon flying over the continental U.S. entered U.S. airspace due to force majeure. A Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman said, it's a civilian airship used for research, mainly meteorological purposes, affected by the westerlies, and limited self-steering capability. That's BS, and I know that from looking at these during Operation Starfall when we were looking at that. They can control, and I think even Dex probably didn't hear about how now they have these little jets that can turn them. They would work with the Airstream like Dex said, but they actually can hook these two weird little jet things that can turn them and basically get them into a different stream to change direction. So that was something, too, that I forgot to mention on our other show. So they can definitely steer these things. I don't believe that. They definitely can go up and down. That's for sure. That's guaranteed. And then the balloon reaches Missouri. So to play, I wish we had this clip of this Pentagon general saying, oh, well, it's heading over Missouri and this and that. And right now, as we speak, it's heading towards the center of the continental USA. When I heard that clip, it's just like, it's surreal. This is what they would do if they were to EMP us. It says what U.S. officials say is that Chinese government surveillance balloon is now soaring over the northwestern end of Missouri. This is in line with generally southeasterly track that the balloon has been following since it first publicly spotted over Montana on Wednesday. Readers of the War Zone get up to speed. It says in the latest in a string of similarly concerning incidents in recent years. It says earlier today, the U.S. National Weather Service offices in Pleasant Hill, Missouri, near Kansas City, in the same state, tweeted out pictures showing what looks to be the balloon in the distance. Other images have now since emerged from elsewhere in the state. It says a private pilot flying a Cessna Citation business jet apparently reported seeing a derelict balloon adrift at approximately 50,000 feet near Kansas City, which may be the Chinese balloon. This all matches up with independent modeling of its likely path, which has been continuing in a generally southeasterly direction across the United States towards the Atlantic Ocean. The projections could, of course, change significantly as time goes on. Just nuts. Dex, anything else on the balloon before we move on?
I think the main thing is what we know at this moment is that it's traveling towards the Carolinas. So we'll have to see where it goes from there.
And if you weren't able to hear that, it is traveling towards the North Carolinas, and we'll get you the most current updates. Again, if there's anything new by the end of the show, we'll let you guys know. And then China's Xi has ordered military to be ready for Taiwan invasion by 2027. We'll go over that in just a second. Want to remind you guys, if you haven't gotten your Kodiak X2, you can get a backup solar generator that can charge from the sun and last 6,000 charge cycles without degradation. Again, after 6,000 charge cycles, you'll still have 80% of your battery capacity. So imagine using this thing every single day from 100% to 0% for 16 years. And after that, you will still have 80% of your battery capacity. That's if you use it every single day. So this thing could last years and decades if you keep care of it. This is, again, the same one that I have now. I also have the Flex 1500. This is the cream of the crop system. It is built like a tank. It is also built with quality that will last for decades. So it is an investment, but it's also something that can back up power. It's a UPS seamless power supply. So anything that is plugged into it, if your power goes out, within under 10 milliseconds, this thing's going to flip over and power your stuff. It doesn't have the $5 a gallon gas charge that a gas-powered generator does, and it also doesn't make sound like a gas-powered generator. These things are silent. They can be run inside your home, so nobody is going to know that you have backup power. In an SHTF situation, people are very weary of having a gas-powered generator running because somebody will want to go and take that. It is a good thing to have both, but again, this system is absolutely amazing. It's the new lithium iron phosphate technology, which lasts a whole lot longer. Go to marfugglenews.com/energy. Also, check out the Flex 1500. It is a modular system. Go to marfugglenews.com/energy, not only to get a huge discount, but to also support our channel at the same time. Always make sure to use that code Marfoogle to get the savings. So, CIA Director William Burns has revealed that Chinese President Xi Jinping has instructed his country's army to be ready by 2027 to conduct a successful invasion. First of all, this is once again coming out of the CIA, and that makes me suspect that, one, because why is the CIA the one telling us? Obviously, you know, they're making you think, well, it's because the CIA has got inside information on this. But it's the CIA. Nobody can trust the CIA because they're always doing ops. But at the same time, is this to distract us from an earlier invasion or to tell us that it's happening way down the road when it's actually going to happen sooner? Go ahead, Dex. What do you think?
these date sets are always sus, even when they come from people like the three-letter agency. So I'm, look, the thing to take away from this, whether it's 2027, 2025, 2030, or next month, it's going to happen. That's what's important to understand. And G has specifically said, under no circumstances is it not going to happen. It's going to happen. They're going to either give up or he's going to take it and take it by force. So I don't know that that the dates matter at this point, because time pretty much is moving pretty quickly. And even if it is 2027, it'll be here before you know it. And there'll be a lot of buildup before then. We're seeing so much action right now at with the incursions at Taiwan, that they're daily, they're normalizing them. It's getting pretty intense over there. It won't surprise me if we see something within 12 months or even less, but it also won't surprise me if it takes a little longer too. Obviously, there's a lot of planning that goes in. There's a lot of games they have played, conflict games they've mapped out in computers and simulations and all that to figure out who would win, who won't win, or what's going to happen. And I'm sure, G understands that, for the most part, it doesn't look like he'll win if we go all out. But at the same time, he's doing lots of things to improve those odds. And he's doing lots of things with these incursions to gain better insight on how the reaction times are and what does it take for either the allies to move, or more specifically, Taiwan to react. So as we see this continue to play out, it's going to give him a greater insight into how he can actually, win if he thinks he's going to do that. At the same time, who knows? We may not do anything. It may be lip service. And when the time comes, we might roll over and say, it's too late. We can't solve that problem. On the flip side, we're also spending a ton of money to try to, get chips made elsewhere, so that we do have less of a dependence on that from an economic standpoint, but that'll take a few years.
Well, and I'd like to point out, so they're telling us that, 2027, whatever it may be, look at what all of the simulations say that the only way that China would win or Russia would win is that they do it at the same time. With Russia if we were at a full-scale war with Russia and China at the same time, which Russia looks a whole lot like we are putting our gear there first, and then we're going to be moving in. And then you've got China over here putting police stations all around NATO countries. This spying campaigns like this happen before they go to a major conflict. And then you have a balloon flying over the middle of our country watching all of our nuclear bases at the same time that, we're not getting along with Russia on the New START treaty, and they haven't gone over. They haven't done the flyovers in a few years. Nobody knows what's going on with that. It seems like this could be a practice run. China knows that, or they know that both our simulations from the Pentagon and theirs show the same thing. They even put out a full-on piece using our data on the Global Times saying even the U.S. agrees they would not be able to defeat us if we hit them at the same time they're fighting Russia. So a world war would be worst-case scenario for us, especially here in the U.S., because everybody thinks here, we'll just win. We'll just win because we're going to win. But you have to look, if we are fighting not only China, but Russia, and say this is a practice run, say they knock out the center of our country, think about where we're going to be allocating resources. What if a major disaster happens here? What if Vlad sends a nuclear tsunami to the East Coast, China does an EMP in the middle of the country, and the West Coast has some sort of crazy earthquake that was triggered by something we don't even know exists yet? All of a sudden, the entire United States is down. They're practicing landing huge Hercules on highways. Why would they be doing that? Well, they practice that as a contingency if all of our airfields get knocked out for some reason, right? Well, they're practicing that in Taiwan too. So it says to me that they're practicing for a potential event that would happen at the same time as Taiwan. Possibly they take Taiwan, something hits us out of nowhere, knocks out a third of our power or even more, and then all of a sudden you've got everybody trying to figure out how to get us stabilized here in the U.S. At the same time, you've got them taking over Taiwan, Where's the military going to go? Well, if things happen here, if something serious happens here, we have a major catastrophic event, which, again, Davos is telling us within the next 2 years, they think that their cyber experts, 93% of the top cyber experts in the world, are saying that it's likely we will have a catastrophic cyber event in the next 2 years. That happens, then what happens? Then you've got this whole cluster F going on where you have the United States looting and pandering and everybody's fighting and taking out each other, a civil conflict. And at the same time, they're taking Taiwan. You've got our Navy and military deciding, should we go home and try to protect ourselves or go over there and protect Taiwan? I bet they would probably turn back and try to protect the United States. Don't know. Meanwhile, you say, well, President B is in his pocket. He very well could be. And he could allow all of this to happen. Like, this is, a lot of people are just going to brush this off. These dry runs are just like the dry run with Russia taking 160,000 troops to the border of UKR. Everybody thought, it's just another saber rattle, right? We didn't think so. We said, this looks like practice, and it also looks like they're setting up for an invasion, especially, and we said that before they said, oh, psych, it's just a drill. They retracted their 160,000 troops, but they left everything on the border of UKR. Meanwhile, you even have the richest people in the world saying that, something else is going to happen, possibly a demic that will hit us again. Either way, any path we end up traveling down, it's going to be a prepper's world. So I hope more and more people are looking at this and thinking about getting their ducks in a row. And it's going to be crazy if something like this happens. I can just imagine, everything goes dark. Everybody, you're going to have 24 hours max before you're going to be able to get anywhere. And that might even be, you might have an hour, 2 hours. If people realize what's happening, and if something really did happen right now, especially with this balloon talk, everybody would put 2 and 2 together and people would be stuck on the freeway within 3 hours. So one thing to think about is, what's your plan in the first 24 hours after something like this happens? Because it's not going to be good. Prior estimates is within 3 days, you need to really have your spot figured out, what you're going to do, bug in, bug out. I think it's going to be much, much faster than that. Within hours, things are going to start falling apart. And if you don't have communications, and if you don't have a society or a country that knows where to go during these events, it's going to be very bad. And then Vlad's red line will be crossed with Moscow attack bound to happen. What? Dex, they're talking about Moscow being attacked.
With the reach of the recent drones getting to Engel's base, it's not that much further to make it to Moscow. With the new expanded ranged weapons that we're sending over in this package, they certainly will have a greater reach across the border. The question is, will they use it? Will they do it? And where will they hit? If it's just targeting military, locations, if they're just targeting, stores of armaments and things like that, that's one thing. If they take it to the next level and start targeting things in Moscow, that is very much, like they say, a huge game changer. That's not a red line. That's a response. Like, you have to, that's a big deal. You would just imagine somebody, doing that into our country. Imagine somebody putting balloons over our country. Oh, well, we don't do anything about it. Yeah, but that's a big deal. It really is. And we're at the point where the equipment that's heading over is going to have the capability of doing it. And it's a matter of when it will happen, because odds are they're not going to resist the urge to actually do that.
Yeah, exactly. El Nino says, is it a good time to get a bang bang? No, it was a good time to get it like 2 or 3 years ago when all the signs started popping up. Daniel said, all doom and gloom. So I just want to point out, you could say this is a doom and gloom channel. So is Canadian Prepper, and so is everybody else. And guess what? There's a use for it. There's also a purpose for it. This is a prepper channel. I guess it's like kind of like going to a video game channel that covers Fortnite and goes like, oh, can't you do something other than video games? People are searching me out. I'm not like going up to people and saying, watch my channel, and neither is YouTube. YouTube's not sharing this with people. You're finding this through somebody who is telling somebody else who's telling somebody else. And also it's what we are searching out. Before I was on YouTube, I was looking out the same content because this is how I believe. Again, this is what I believe is going to happen. I believed CV was going to happen before it happens. So did all of you guys. We saw CV before it happened. We saw the tabletop exercises. We saw the weird events at the Cat Dog Cat. We saw the weird events at the Russian labs. We saw all of the graphs that the W and the H and the O put out beforehand saying how this future demic was going to affect the entire world. We also see that happening again in 2023, in the very end of 2022, the tabletop exercise, the pictures of satellites saying that the crematoriums are overfull, and the tabletop exercise says 1 billion are going to perish. Davos saying 93%. This is doom and gloom. Unfortunately, that is the world that we are watching. If you don't watch the world, then no, you will see all ponies and rainbows, especially if you focus on TikTok videos and keep swiping. But these are all adults who choose to be here and that want to be here. I would say to anybody that thinks this is doom and gloom, this might not be the right channel for you. You might want to unsubscribe and watch something funny. And I'm not saying that to be a jerk. I'm saying some people do not like this kind of content. If you don't like scary movies, don't watch scary movies. I guarantee you there's some of you that go, I don't watch the Saw movies because they scare the heck out of me. They don't make me feel good. They make me panic and anxious and nervous. If you are that person, don't watch this content. If you are a prepper who's looking at trying to be the most responsible you can before something bad happens, then you might be the patriarch or the matriarch in your family that's going to be the only one thinking about it, because the majority of people do not want to hear this. And if you do want to hear this, then you're here for a reason. Somebody told you about it, a friend or a family member brought you in, and people like it here. There's a lot of negativity being talked about. There's also a lot of positive solutions being talked about it in the chat. There's thousands of people here. Obviously, we're not all stupid. I think that we're all looking at the patterns, and we like this. This is what we like to do, because it is how many times during previous events, during CV, how many of you guys had supplies when no one else could go into a grocery store, when there were 4-mile lines at Costco? How many in my audience had a full cupboard? How many of you didn't have to deal with those lines? How many of you had extra food, extra toilet paper, extra everything because of these videos? And people choose to watch them. You are an adult. We all have the freedom of speech, and we all have the freedom of viewing the content that we want to watch. At least for now we do. So I would say if you consider this stuff doom and gloom, you're not in the right place. We're not here to scare people. We're here to show people the patterns that are happening. And 99% of the time, we have been right. And I'm not saying we as in this channel. I'm saying the community. This community has been ahead of every single theory that they said was conspiracy has come true. And if you can't see that now at this point, with all of the stuff that's coming out, all of the Twitter stuff that came out, everything that everybody got canceled for, it's all true. I mean, look at the video that just got banned off of all of the platforms. You had the number 3 guy saying, yep, we're doing that, and we're doing it all the time, and monkey to monkey. I mean, like, come on. At this point, if you don't like scary movies, this is not the channel for you. Putin to test launch. I think people are mad because other people are watching them. Maybe they're mad because they have a family member that's totally obsessed with it or something, and they're just angry. They're angry at people that talk about this stuff because it scared them at one point. And I think we're all adults here. We can see when it happens. They're adults that get super scared, and then they get angry. Why'd you make me feel like this? Because then the next week, they think when it doesn't happen, they think, oh, they tricked me. It's not a trick. Nobody knows the timeline of when this stuff is going to happen, but you can clearly tell all of this is going to happen in time. That's our opinion. And again, we're still allowed to have those. And as adults, we're still allowed to listen to others. The Red Line being attacked in Moscow, that would be freaky. Putin to test launch unstoppable new nuclear-capable hypersonic missiles. It said Vladimir Putin is set to unleash new hypersonic missiles capable of reaching speeds of over 6,600 miles. The unstoppable Zircon missiles will be test-fired from a frigate during naval exercises on the coast of Africa. They will be aimed at a surface target at a distance of more than 310 miles. The so-called training launch of a nuclear-capable missile is the latest show of strength by the Kremlin dictator. It comes amid deep tension with the West during Putin's war against UKR. The Mach 9 hypersonic launch will come during drills in the Indian Ocean. So first of all, that we've got all these exercises going on, and I do also want to point out that before WW2, everyone knew that WW2 was going to happen. I bet we barely have anybody alive here in this chat, but we might have some folks that were young during WW2. Everyone knew that was, they called it in history books, the war that everyone knew was going to happen. This same next war, everyone sees it coming. Some people want to deny it. Some people don't want to deal with it. Some people want to close their ears and go, nah. We are so far away from that last world war that people cannot fathom something horrible happening to us, especially here at home in the United States. We take everything for granted. We take our phones for granted. We take the internet for granted. We take the power that is powering everything around me for granted. You can't take that for granted anymore. You can't take your life for granted, and you can't be afraid. The people that are afraid of dying. And when you really get down to it, it is the overall fear of death. Because otherwise, if you weren't afraid of dying, you wouldn't be afraid of any of the stuff we're talking about. And that's where your own personal faith comes in, and that's where my faith comes in. I'm not afraid of perishing. I would say that that's a personal problem. If you are afraid of dying, then that's something that you have to deal with. We all die. But we also all have family members that we don't want to die. And I think more of us are here for our family than anything else because we care about the ones we love. As far as like the nukes and stuff, what are you going to do? If a nuke hits you, there's nothing you can do. You're gone in a second. There's no chance. Dex, U.S. Congress says F-16 sale to Turkey depends on NATO approval. Back and forth, tit for tat.
And here we have the leverage, right? You know, it's funny because we've seen Turkey hold out often times not doing what other people want because they want something in return. So now we actually are holding something over their head. They want these planes. And if they want to buy them, we're telling them, hey, you got to let Sweden in. Both Sweden and Finland, but Sweden's the hang up, as we know, over the issue of the book burning that went on there and their inability to I guess, make it illegal specifically. So we'll see what happens, how it plays out. But again, we've been watching Turkey, Erdogan, and what's going on there. He's very much fence sitting. He always seems to be doing something for his own benefit, which makes sense. Probably a good negotiator when it comes to that. He's in a good position. But if he wants the planes, it sounds like we're holding that one over his head now.
Yep. So he's now they're putting the pressure on them, or at least that's what it seems like. After that yesterday's show, a lot of people actually commented in support of Turkey and said that they basically looked at it like the U.S. is the one doing all this nasty stuff. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. And thank you, everybody that is popping in. Somebody said yes, there was an explosion over Montana. If somebody said something about the second confirmed balloon, just rewind the show. We did cover that. Somebody also said there was an explosion over Billings, Montana. We also covered that. So if you rewind, you can get to our coverage of that as well. If you did join us late, we covered that alongside the second confirmed balloon. And the people are going to talk about this balloon until they figure it out. I guess the main point about the balloons and stuff is, everybody's freaking out about it, and there's a good chunk of people that when they see everybody freaking out about something, it's their natural tendency to go, you guys are freaking about everything. It's going to be a nothing burger. That's the skepticism that's in all of us, and I totally agree with you. I hope it is a nothing burger. But from a prepper standpoint, talking about this for 5 years, when we talked about CV for a year and a half before and months before saying, hey, why are they doing all these weird drills? Why are they in masks downtown Seattle, pretending like there's a demic going on? Why are they in full out riot gear? All of those things beforehand, it's like it happened. When we see this, it's like this is creepy. This is something unprecedented. Seeing multiple balloons and this much attention very well could be the biggest distraction ever. And that's why we're keeping the back channels open and seeing what's going on the back end of it. While all of this balloon talk is happening, is there any changes, any new laws that are going into place? Is there a closed-door meeting happening at the White House that's deciding things about our future? That's what we're paying attention to all at the same time. I haven't seen anything too crazy yet, but again, we are always checking up on it. Space power, China to build ground stations on Antarctica to support satellites. This is a weird one. So, first of all, they've got their space station up and running. They've got a lot of things that are kind of happening at the same time for China space-wise. And then now they are supposedly building up in the Antarctic, which we always hear about Russia building up. But now they're apparently building ground station in Antarctica to support the satellites. It says China, only the third country to put a man in space after the Soviet Union and United States, is to build ground stations on Antarctica to back up its network of ocean monitoring satellites. State media said on Thursday, China's own global network of ground stations to support a growing number of satellites and outer space ambitions has drawn concern from some nations that it could be used for espionage, a suggestion China rejects. In 2020, Sweden's state-owned space company, which provided ground stations that help fly Chinese spacecraft and transmit data, declined to renew contracts with China or accept new Chinese business due to, quote, changes in geopolitics. So everybody's starting to cut China off as well. China Aerospace Science and Technology Group Company is to build the stations at the Zhongshan Research Base, one of two permanent Chinese research stations on Antarctica. And after winning the tender with its 43.95 million won bid, state-controlled China Space News reported. No technical details of the project were given in the report, though China Space News published two accompanying illustrations of an artist's rendering that shows 4 ground stations at Zhongshan, located at Prize Bay in East Antarctica. Dex did actually can we see if we can get the illustrations of those? It might be on this normal version of it, but I don't think so. I don't know if we can locate the pictures for that. And then, so main point though, they're building some sort of ground stations in Antarctica. This would be a strategic thing to do. I don't know. Also for, WW3 and what's going on. Maybe to work closer with Russia since they're building these pathways and things to get around a possible conflict with obviously NATO. It's very, very strange to say the least. By the way, thank you again, Zen1AZ. Thank you, Craig Alicious. Danish Girl, thank you for the massive support. Thank you for supporting Independent. Appreciate that. Says, hi, Adam, Dex, and Sweet Mods. You are all so awesome, and I appreciate the time and work you guys put into these videos. Well, thank you, and thank you, and thank you. I really do appreciate that. Danish Girl, thank you for stopping by again. You didn't have to do that, and we appreciate your support. And then Stephen McMahon, we have to keep in mind that the international elite want to take out 95% of the world by 2050. They want conflict, and they ultimately want to pull the strings. Can't say I disagree with most of that. Fairies of Venues. Fairies of Venus. Man, that was a reading error and a half. Thank you for the massive support. I hope that was on purpose. If that was an error, again, I hope that you didn't mean to do $9.99. But thank you so much for your support. You can also write a huge message when you do anything over, I believe, 20. So thank you so much. Did a $100 super chat. Thank you. It is appreciated. It's not necessary. More than anything, please share our show out and get us to more people. Kimberly says, pray for the speakers of the truth in this time, fam. And thank you, Marf, Dex, and Mods for sharing it. Kimberly, appreciate that. Seems like anybody that does say this stuff is put into the CIA dubbed as conspiracy theorists. That was created for preppers back in the day because they don't want anybody prepping. If you're prepped, you're not dependent. Westroof maxing, another big one. Thank you so much, you guys. You didn't have to do that. Thank you so much, Westroof. Again, if you have something like that, put your name in there. Or put some sort of shout out in there. Thank you so much. Jen, God gave us Marfoogle TV to show us the truth and teach us to prepare for what's coming. And he gave us Andrew Womack to teach us who we truly are. And Christ, he is far by the best teacher of the word out there ever been. You should check it out. Let's see here. Andrew Womack. I will check it out, Jan, and thank you for the support. Jan, I appreciate that. Overcoming Bipolar Jesus, thank you for the 1-Up super sticker. I appreciate you guys. Thank you guys again. Thank you for supporting independent, guys. I appreciate you. And then Elon Musk should not be in charge of the night sky. Dex, do you want to go over this? And then I see, I don't know if we did get the pictures. Did you?
No, there weren't any, but there is 2 other articles that are in Screener if you want to pull them in.
Okay, so as per chat, and I cannot remember who ended up saying this, but we did pull up this article talking about what potentially is being offered here. Supposedly 20% of UKR to end the conflict. CIA, and why is CIA director involved in all of this? Reportedly offered Russian President Vlad a fifth of Ukraine's territory to end the conflict as part of a peace plan drawn up on behalf of President JB. So JB is behind this, right? He wrote this up with his advisors telling him all this smart stuff. Basically telling him that it's okay to invade another country, right? Or at least that's how people are going to take it. Burns is believed to have submitted the plan in mid-January to put an end to the conflict. I don't know. That might show weakness, don't you think? Like, you can have a quarter of a huge, giant country and have it scot-free if you just stop, right? That would show that we're afraid of him to keep going when we're the big bad U.S. with NATO, right? I don't know. I think that kind of shows some weakness. According to the newspaper, the proposal offered around 20% of UKR's territory, approximately the size of Ukraine's eastern Donbass region. Kiev reportedly shut down the proposal because they are not willing to have their territory divided. So it's kind of BS. It's like, oh, well, we'll offer you this. Well, you're not UKR, right? But UKR is a puppet, so they can go, oh, yeah, we won't take that. And then it's just headlines for nothing. I don't know. And then fire and derailment. Let's see here. Dex, can you explain what's in this one?
This is breaking. So I think it came to us via Jammer as well as Heidi in chat. Jammer being one of our mods. This is a train that was derailed earlier tonight in East Palestine, Ohio. And there's a huge, massive fire. They're trying to evacuate, tell people to shelter in place. And I think there's some people saying that there might be chlorine or some other chemical on it that can be part of the problem. So obviously a very big deal happening for the people in that area. No information as to how it derailed, what happened. I'm sure all that'll come in later. But for the folks in that area, be careful.
Okay, that's creepy. And by the way, Ohio was not in the path of anything, was it? The balloons never went over Ohio, right?
That's the Rust Belt. I know that one.
So did it end up going over Ohio? Because I'm just
no. It's below, well, according to what they project, it's below that. No, it's nowhere. It's not Ohio.
Okay, because like they have. I see like every apocalyptic movie right now. Like, wait, isn't this in a movie of some sort? Oh my gosh, I just watched a movie where a train derailed and blew up and the family is like a little bit away and it's a comedy, but it like goes over how this train blows up. Does anybody know this movie? It has a British actor as the main guy, but the family, it's a very like dry humor type thing, and a train explodes nearby them and they have a cloud and they call it like it's an ominous cloud. Now, it's been upgraded to like a super dangerous cloud, and they talk about how, well, now it's no longer ominous cloud, it's a super dangerous cloud, and they have a shelter in place. It was a very weird kind of movie setting, but if you guys know what movie I'm talking about, put it in the chat. But they had a derailment of a train, or a truck hit a train, and then released this stuff into the sky. Anytime I see a shelter in place, it's like we've had the government do that where something actually got out and it's been covered up and it was a chemical from some sort of plant. It's like the plot line of a Resident Evil number 8 or something, right? So it says that it happened near East Taggart Street. So everybody here has been told to stay in their home. So that's breaking now as the show is progressing. So if you're watching the replay, again, there could be updates that make it look like nothing. But this is live and this is happening currently. And Dex, let's talk about should not be in charge of the sky. Elon Musk.
He's not making friends anywhere he goes nowadays. It used to be everybody loved him. Now everybody wants to find ways to hate him. They're talking about Starlink. We've covered this before. They've actually they speculated about this before when they said, hey, all of these satellites are going to be up in the sky. They're in our way. So the two of the main points they're trying to make here is the star watchers that like to astronomers, as they're formally called, like to look through telescopes, and when they're looking through telescopes and recording the night sky, and Elon's satellites come flying by, they leave these nice big white streaks through the image, and they don't like that. And then, of course, they also try to say that as he puts up more of these satellites, there'll be more light pollution, and that can mess up animals and migratory routes and other things like that. So, as well as other people, even saying indigenous people have been speaking out about the satellites in the night sky, because it's changing, a lot of what they had looked to when they looked at the sky, et cetera. So all of this is just a culmination of saying, hey, we don't, we want to talk some smack about Elon's Starlink satellites, and maybe they have a point. Maybe they don't. I would think on the astronomy side, you'd probably be looking more towards, hey, can we get our telescopes into space, up into orbit? Because they would have a much better time. Not that they would be up there, but they would have a much better view, I would think, from up there than from down here, where we do have a lot of light pollution and people and noise and all that stuff. So I don't know. It just seems like any chance somebody gets in the press now to write something bad about Elon, they will.
Yep. And, and by the way, some interesting stuff happened with Twitter. Not if you've been watching like Tim Pool or any of the folks that actually covered it, like Tim Pool said the other day, it was like there was some Hunter stuff that happened and all of this, but it was a slow news day the other day, and he ended up talking about the Twitter thing. I can personally attest to this. I've seen like Lisa Haven and others say, wait, so there was a hint given out by Elon to lock your account and you would actually reach more of your followers. So everybody has locked their profiles. Now, I want to point out, I think it's very odd that the last few weeks, there has been a certain topic trending on Twitter for the last month, and constantly trending and constantly being pumped out is stuff about CV and about the that everybody did. And it's like, not everybody, by the way, but now, sadly, the majority. So they've been talking about it and talking about all the findings, right? So the truth is getting out, a bunch of these things, and even admissions have been getting out, videos have been sharing, whatever. Just the other day, Elon met with McCarthy and somebody else, a couple politicians, and then all of a sudden there's this issue with Twitter where engagement is dead. But yet Elon, who has 127 million people following, one of the largest followings in all of Twitter, and he is the head tweet, so when he puts something out, everybody pays attention because everybody's watching what he's doing that's on Twitter. He puts out, he hinted that if you put your thing on lock, that everybody would see your tweets. But if you put your stuff on private on Twitter, that means nobody from outside can access your tweets. So all of these conservatives, and everybody is basically locking down their account, and all sorts of people are locking down their account, well, that also stops the spread of whatever was trending, And now they're saying that engagement just died overnight. And the speculation is that he closed down whatever app or whatever thing that was going on in Twitter that was giving fake engagement and boosting everything's up. This is the theory that is almost being put in front of us to go grab, saying, oh, well, maybe all of this engagement was the prior Twitter was boosting it for advertising reasons and to make it look better to advertisers. I don't know. I think they just voluntarily got everybody to lock down their own stuff. And by the way, I saw Lisa Haven's tweet once she locked down her thing. So they're saying if you lock down, the algorithm changes if you have it locked, and that, say, if you have 30,000 followers on Twitter, all 30,000 are now going to get that tweet. But you're not going to reach new people. You're just going to reach the people you already have. So I don't know what's going on with that, but they said that engagement's dead and Twitter's not looking good right now and all this. But I think it's very sus that right after he meets with these politicians, engagement dies. It's just, especially with what was being shared. And now all of these creators that are desperate to grow on Twitter are like, yeah, they're trying to just grow their reach. And they're saying, oh, well, he gave us this hint. So everybody locked down. Maybe the engagement's because everybody just put their damn profile on private. And now the truth is now just got managed, right? Maybe they told him, like, we're going to take you out. Or maybe they're in each other's pockets and they're like, hey, we need you to calm down on the VX stuff, right? I don't know. It's just weird. Twitter is a very important thing. That this is what the elites were using to shape all of the culture. And it's like, nobody's really thinking that. And now there's even more proof of that. Some say, it's crazy how Elon went from everybody's hero. He was an inspiration for everyone. Now he's like public enemy number one. And it just seems very, very odd. And then ChatGPT may be coming for our jobs. Here are the 10 roles that AI most likely will replace. So Dex, this is the downside of the ChatGPT. And by the way, they're already utilizing it everywhere. They're, with the AI, they're using it to fake people's voices. They're using it to fake, authors. They're writing articles for CNET. CNET published 80 articles without telling anybody that it was done completely by AI. What are the 10 jobs that could be disrupted?
Well, this time, we talk a lot about the robotics and taking out potentially blue collar jobs, taking out transportation, stuff like that. Well, ChatGPT is really going after what would be traditionally looked at as some of the white collar jobs, and specifically, going after anybody that is creating content and having to create different types of marketing material or creating news articles, things like that, any of the writing type stuff, because that's what it's really done really well at doing. So there's been quite a bit of people that are looking at this saying, wow, look at what it can do. It can do what it used to take me an hour in like a matter of seconds. Anything from writing a resume to creating copy or pulling up or rewriting copy that would go into an article, or rewriting, marketing material that you're creating, even, paralegals, legal work. I wouldn't trust it as a lawyer, but, you can certainly have it phrase things, create, even code. Some people are using it for coding. Software developers can ask it questions to write code. I mean, you can go into ChatGPT and say, hey, write the code for Pong in PHP, and it'll give you the code for the game Pong in PHP, which is a language that you could run it in. I've actually done that just to see if it would respond, and it did. So yeah, there's a lot of these things that are happening. And I think there's a lot of people that can actually find useful ways to use this. I mean, think about a teacher. A teacher can be worried about their students using this to plagiarize, but at the same time, a teacher can use this to help them formulate a lesson plan and create, and at least get some of the foundational work created around, what might need to go into there. Not that they would take it word for word, but you could take it and then craft from that and modify. So there's a lot of ways that it's good, and there's a lot of ways that a lot of people are worried about, hey man, I might be losing my job over this. So I get it. Totally get it. Same principle applies in a lot of these other AI type and computer or robotic, I should say, type jobs that we've seen getting displaced, even from as simple as flipping burgers to complex as running factories and distribution of goods and services out of large distribution centers.
Well, and then this new generation, everybody has been looking at their kids saying, hey, you need to go get a degree in coding, right? It's saying that coders, all of the people here in Seattle, there's all of the people that are making good money work at Amazon. They either work at Boeing, Amazon, or Expedia, or one of the tech companies, right? I'm forgetting, Microsoft. And most of them are coders. Back when I did like credit card processing and worked in the banking field, most of the high profile clients and things like that were all coders. They were all the simple coders, but they all made over $10,000, $12,000 a month. And this was back years ago. This is before inflation. So this is a lot of money. I remember when $100,000 a year, it was like, wow, you can make $100,000 a year in Seattle, by the way. You are extreme poverty, a family of 4 in Seattle with this whole new Amazon and everything else. If you make $70,000 a year as a family of 4, you are not in poverty. You're below that in extreme poverty. So if you make $100,000, I believe you're at the poverty level, right? This is insanity. If you go to somewhere in like Austin, Texas or something, like, it's like, what? How is it this varied in places in the United States? Well, here, rent is like $2,100 for a studio. So like those kind of rooms that you turn around and your toilet's there, and you turn around and your kitchen's there, and you turn around and your pancakes are in your toilet. Don't ask me how I know that. But it's very expensive. You're talking about $4,000 to $7,000 for a house. I mean, like, it's just not to rent. So it's really, really bad that even the people, all these people that are going for coding now in the next 10 years, they could be out of a job. They're saying that this could replace it. And then there was an interesting part in this article that talks about, at the very top here, that a 2013 University of Oxford study found that 47% of U.S. jobs could be eliminated by AI over the next 20 years. This was in 2013. This is 10 years ago. So that would, in their view, in the next 10 years, half of the jobs would be AI. But that was before even ChatGPT existed. Now that ChatGPT existed, this says that it was off base. I don't think so. And I think that number might go up. Why would they allow that to happen? You would think as humans we would gather collectively and go, maybe we should just not have AI to keep the system running. But they want the system to running, so anybody who is now the richest of the rich will stay rich, and the poor will stay poor on a universal income and be slave bots. They might not even need us. If anything, we would be kind of for companions. I could see human beings in the next 10 years just as a person being like, some rich person's friend. Friends for hire. Like, I just wanted to talk to a human for a minute. My AI, I'm in a fight with my AI bot. Yeah, he called me fat or something. Well, it's like, what the hell? Things are going downhill quick. I think we should all have a discussion and say this needs to stop. But that's just my opinion. What's yours? Dex, go ahead.
The one thing I like to remind people is it doesn't have to be, there's the scary side of AI. Like when it gets to that advanced sentient stage, that's really bad. There's this other portion where we're at now with some of this technology that it is scary because it's displacing certain people's positions, whether it's robotics or in this case, white collars that are writing copy or whatever it may be. But at the same time, sort of look at this as there's also a way to look at this as a tool set and look at it as an opportunity for people to learn how to use newer technology. And I'll give it a totally different example. Back in the day, you wanted to build a house, you literally had to go chop down trees and plane the wood and build the planks, and it took forever. And now, we're at a stage where we manufacture wood in very fast ways, and we have efficient ways of building and putting a house together in less than 30 days if we needed to, right? The technology comes along and advances things, and then it becomes the norm again. What seems scary in the future. Why would I give up my horse and buggy for that, loud machine over there with these round rickety wheels on it? But looking back now, you're like, of course you would. Everybody drives a car. We all want planes, right? So this does evolve. Now, that's setting aside the whole scary sentient part of AI and just looking at this as a technology, and making sure that we don't allow ourselves to just say, well, I only know how to flip a burger one way, and I see the robots coming and I know I'm going to lose my job, but I'm not going to do anything about it. The obvious thing to do is to make sure you're paying attention to what's going on around you so that you can learn new skills or learn what you need to do to survive in the changing world, because the world will change. They're not going to stop for you. That's the problem that a lot of people have, is they think everything should just stop because they don't like it, but it's going to keep going. And the best thing you can do is to make sure that you know what's happening, and you can find ways for you to adapt to it. I'm not saying you have to love it. I'm not saying you have to embrace it. Again, this is not talking about the super scary part of AI. It's just talking about the advancement of technology.
I know, but every time it just, I don't know. I think you can't go, well, it could be helpful too. The helpful comes with the negative, scary side of it. And I get that things need to advance. But at the same point, if it advances alongside with all of these negatives, it's kind of hard to support. Especially, and by the way, people, when we talked about how that it could possibly replace people like myself, they are making it to the point where they can copy voices to inflection. And you don't really realize this until you hear it yourself, but they can do it to the point where they can create a complete being. The graphics to where they can make a deep fake of an entire person, including all of their mannerisms. You're going to start seeing, like you already see Twitter. Leah, I think on Twitter, is like a totally AI thing. She posts pictures of like herself in front of Paris, like a selfie, right? Like a normal person would, but it's all AI. It's all generated by AI. When you get to the point where they actually have a personality you like, and it looks like a human being, and you literally cannot tell the difference between it and another human, when it's saying things that can not only relate to you, but even personalize things to you, like a Google ad would show you what you've been looking at for a week, but you didn't even look at it on your phone. You've been talking about I want to get this new cord, and then that specific cord shows up on your phone. They could do that, but as an AI person. Imagine a person that you're talking to. It's kind of like going on a date and you just click, right? Everything works. Like, this person is amazing. They're everything I could ask for in a friend or a girlfriend or whatever. That's what AI is going to be. And people don't realize that. That's why they could replace people like myself. And I actually do see it, because I see what they're already doing, especially with the voice. You could have a whole podcast of some celebrity doing it, and it's not the celebrity. That's how good they are now. It's really insane. All right. By the way, thank you. I did not realize that was you. It says, yes, it was intentional. It's Merlin and Faye King's Crown. I changed my YouTube name, Fairies of Venus. Thank you. And sorry about Fairies of Venues, right? That would be with an E, right? Great show. Want to say how much the bibliography, including the overflow, is appreciated. I know how much work all of that is, so thank you both. Richard Ball, again, thank you for that. I appreciate that. Again, Dex does a great job with the website, so thank you. And then Ilea, White Noise on Netflix. Thank you, Ilea. That is the movie. And have you seen it, Ilea? That movie is just, no, that's not it. That's not it either. I gotta show you this thing. Is it White Noise? Maybe it is. It's got a very quirky guy as the main character. I will tell you guys tomorrow. I guarantee it. I'll have it by then. Thank you, everybody, for stopping by today. Let's go over the web only. There's a lot more, so don't leave yet. Dex, the overflow is, again, packed tonight.
It certainly is. So head over to marfooglenews.com, click on the thumbnail for the show, or open up that description on YouTube and Rumble and click on the show notes link. It'll take you right here to this page. As the earlier commenter said, the bibliography, everything is there. All of the links we just went over, all the news we just went over. And then there's the rest of the story, the overflow section, everything we can't get to, or some of the additional content that goes around some of the things we've been talking about. So there's definitely some updates in here specific to the financials and what's going on. Speaking of jobs and people losing jobs, apparently the jobs numbers are high right now. They're at a 53-year or unemployment rate hit a 53-year low. So that's a good thing. But credit card debt is through the roof at the moment. So almost $1 trillion there. Updates on the weather, which we already talked about, but there's just more there if you're interested in what's going on with that crazy weather that's hitting everybody or a lot of people. We definitely have the political coverage covered again. I always think this would just die down at some point and we can get back to other things, but they never seem to stop because they love to be in the news. So there's plenty of stuff going on with Ron, with T-Man, with the squad, and more. That's all there. Some interesting stuff with Davos is there. We've got some updates there around brainwaves and workers. If you want to know that story, go check it out. It's interesting, definitely worth looking at. Ghost bang bangs are in the news. I think there's a lot of things related to bang bangs that we're going to start to hear more in the news. And we talked about one last night as well. That's there. So take a look. There's obligatory Elon bashing in here, which is coming from the news as well. They love to do that, but they're also something about his API. He's looking to charge access, which might reduce the bots. They're saying the bots use the APIs, and if they can charge people for it, then it's something that might keep them off the network. So Rittenhouse in the news and much more. Oh wait, super cows. If you don't know what super cows are, go to the website and click on the link and read that article. It's G and super cows. You got to find out. It's all on our website, marfooglenews.com. Click on the thumbnail for the show, open up the description on YouTube and Rumble, and just click the show notes link. It'll take you right here.
And I want to say a special thank you to everybody over on DLive. Thank you, Yobi, for the diamond. Hi, all. Hope the balloons aren't flying over you. Vicky K, thank you for your nightly stop by. Thank you, Adam and Dex, for all you do. Kimbria, Skyhouse, Chance Paladin, thank you for alongside Jammer modding. And, of course, thank you for Jammer. You don't have to do that. But, again, I understand getting your Mafia badge. But thank you for not only doing that, but gifting a badge to Bug Nana. Thank you, Groovy Grandma, Vault Music. Thank you for the lemons there. And then thank you, DFW Jackie, Scooby-Doo Do Right, Poco Loco, and Johnson. Thank you for gifting out a Mafia badge to Stoplight. Joshua D79 and everybody else over there, thank you, and thank you. Heartbroken Survivor, thank you for being here. And Vicky K, thank you for gifting out a badge to Heartbroken Survivor. She deserves it. Well, thank you so much. Dex, thank you for your service tonight. I appreciate you.
Great job. Much love, brother.
And then Craig Lawnsinger, thank you so much. Let's see here. Thank you, everybody, for coming. And we'll follow up on everything else. And then make sure to go check the website for any kind of updates. And then we'll be back tomorrow. So we will see you. It is now time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. It's a shoutro. Just gotta make it out. Every time that we look at each other, we see the Lord instead. Just gotta make it out. I was on the back of mine. I was gonna go and find everyone wanna find. I got the Paul Cheatham and the Valentina, McKinley and the able-bodied. Danish day ain't this girl. Whoa, 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 wonderful girl. Danish day this girl. One in the world, one of a kind. I see I'm a boat by. Thank you, Island by the Sea, Carmine Petraka. Thank you, Danish Girl. Thank you, Fairies of Venus, aka Merlin and the Fey King's Crown. Let's make a fresh one for Danish Girl.